Welcome back to the My Opinion podcast, where I interview incredible businesswomen and entrepreneurs and give them my opinions. Today, I have Laurelyn Ponder with me, who's going to share some of her business challenges, and I'm going to give some of my opinions. So, Laurelyn, welcome to our show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. So, Laura Lynn is a newer business owner, not new to her space that she lives in. She's been doing this for several years, but you launched your business back in, I guess it would be January 2025 now, right, Laura Lynn?
Yes, it would be. I kind of sort of started on side projects, and closer to May, springtime, I fully launched my business, and I offer PR and social media help through my agency.
Wonderful, wonderful. So tell us a little bit about your background too. How did you get into this? I know you have a degree in business and were you working agency life before this? Tell us a little bit about that so we can understand your background.
Yeah, so my background essentially you go to college. I'm in was in my early 20s, and so I really was attracted to communications and marketing as a whole, and so I decided to really hone in on that craft. And so my expertise both educationally and professionally spanned across 7 to 8 ish years. And so what I've done in those roles is I've worked for social media agencies, PR agencies, and I also worked in-house on a, in-house brand communications firm, and where I handle branding to, website updates to sort of honing in on campaigns and digital marketing, uh, strategies to really amplify their voice and making sure the mission is strong and sort of that direction to make sure it connects with people and humans and make it that human element.
Wonderful, wonderful. And so tell us a little bit about where you are today. So you've been doing this for almost, well, you launched it over a year ago and really kind of full time in the business now, probably, I guess that would be like 10 months. So tell us where you are today and we'll talk about your challenges. Tell us about business. How are things going today?
Yeah, things are going really great in terms of business. I've been roughly, as you've alluded to, about a year, and so I've really honed in on the offerings that I'm going to represent, and really honed in on the partnerships, and really getting the foundations up and running to the point where I'm really confident to help clients, whether that's e-commerce to professional services, hone in on their digital presence online and really help them on a PR aspect to get earned media and also on the reach of different platforms like Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn.
Awesome. And before we kind of dive into your challenges, tell me a little bit, who is your ideal client? Who are you looking to work with? And sometimes I like to call it not only ideal, but dream client too. And that can be a little bit different too. But tell us a little bit about who that person is.
Yeah, so I sort of have like 2 dream clients, so I only will go into one. Like, the biggest dream client I would love to work with are realtors and interior designers and any personal brand creators, sort of entrepreneurs starting in this space. I really just find passion, and I'm a beauty guru and video gamer at heart, so I really love that atmosphere of that creativity, but also I have extensive knowledge, as I mentioned before, within professional services, e-commerce, and a retail background. So the dream client really would anything really in the hospitality or travel space or with product marketing. I love those sorts of brands that I think I have a really understanding of their background and their pain points that I can really hone in on amplifying their message and being who they are so they don't feel burnout when it comes to content and trying to get out there and build their authority.
Yeah, I mean, I think you make a really good point because those types of individuals, whether it's, e-commerce or retail or realtors, like you mentioned, or interior design, like you really want to focus on your craft when you're in
Mhm.
those types of things, right? In those industries. And
Yes.
so I know as someone who's been in, real estate's a side hustle for me, Laura Lynn. If you have listened to the show, I talk about it sometimes. It's not a fun one in my opinion, but it is what it is. I have a great realtor, I love her, but she is just hustling all the time. Like, she's posting videos, she's doing this. I'm like, "Oh my god," like, their job is like 4 in 1, 5 in 1 in what they're doing. Yeah, I
Mhm.
get why you would kind of tap into that audience. And then before we kind of shift into your challenges, who what are the types of clients you're currently working with? I know those are kind of your dream clients and ideal clients, but are you working with those types of clients already, or what have you found so far? What is kind of paying the bills right now? What kind of clients are you currently working with?
Yeah, so what's sort of paying the bills right now is I'm hoping to target professional services since I have the most extensive background in that area. I'm sort of in this limbo, which will go more into depth with the client acquisition problems that I'm having, but I'm mostly been working with like lawyers, finance, and tech stack companies, sort of on a business to business relationship, project to project. So that's sort of who I've been helping, but I'm hoping to transition into more in that creative space and help that realtor, help that interior design firm really thrive in the future.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you're heavy B2B, but you're looking to transition more to creative versus kind of just yeah, your big business guy or gal. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah, because you have a creative element to you, right? Like, you enjoy
Mhm.
makeup and fashion and, aesthetics, and from what you're sharing with us. So I totally get that. So share with us. So it sounds like we've identified already kind of where you want to go. You want to go more in a
Mhm.
creative direction. And you've been working with more of the, I guess, what we would, the standard professional, right? Like lawyer, tech,
Right.
all of that. And you want something a little more creative, which is more inspiring when we're more aligned with what we're servicing, so, and who we're helping. So, tell me a little bit about what challenge. You already said client acquisition is a challenge for you. Tell me a little bit about that. What's been going on with that?
Yeah, and I've really studied it the past couple months and just really started on my sales acquisition process, like, literally this beginning of this year, so I've know a lot more than when I first started last year, but the one thing I really struggle with is when you don't really have a name, you really don't have a authority, you're trying to build that name and that credibility, how are you supposed to get out there without outreach, without sounding automated like it's AI? That's sort of kind of how I struggle, just to put my personality out there and really get them on the call and just lean in on my expertise and that trust factor of I do have that experience, but highlighting that on a sales call and going through that process to where I'm hoping to book my first couple clients.
Already have some thoughts for you, but I want to ask you a couple questions first before we dive
Yes,
into it.
go right ahead.
So, tell me, what have you done that has worked for you to acquire clients? I'm curious about that because you are
Mhm.
working in your business, you are making money in your business. So, what has worked for you to acquire clients? Or did you get referrals? Did you happen to know these people already? What worked for you in the past?
Yeah, so I believe networking really has worked with me in the past. That referral base, I do a lot of what we call white labeling in the industry where I work as a subcontractor to other businesses. And then also through my knowledge of lead generation, Sales Navigator is the way to go because that is where most of the decision makers are and really making sure my presence is known on LinkedIn and hopefully I will expand that to other platforms. But those are 2 of the things that are really working for me in terms of building my business and getting started as an expert in this space.
How many This is my last question before, well, maybe not my last one, but first one before I start giving my opinion. First to last here. How many clients have you acquired through what has worked for you that are aligned with where you're going? Like realtors, interior designers, creatives. Have you closed any clients like that through Sales Navigator, through networking, anything that you've done so far?
I have been closing through networking. They have not fully closed, but they've what has been working is those conversations, getting them on those closed calls and those automated outreach messages. So, I've had those conversations, but they haven't fully led to a close, and I think that's just part of the process of getting confident in front of a discovery call just to talk about what I do and pitching those services. I see those gaps there, but in terms of the methods I'm working, it's really been honing in on that automation messages. I've been getting close like both calls, but not fully closed yet. But I'm pretty optimistic because I have a couple sales calls this month that I'm hoping to close.
Okay. Well, hopefully you can take some of the stuff we talked about today and apply it to those calls. So
Yes.
to be clear, you are not currently working with basically like the ideal client, right? You're working with great clients, but you're not working with your dream clients. And that's what it sounds like.
Yes, I'm not
Got some
working
calls.
for yes, I've gotten some calls in the professional service industry capacity, but I've not been working with my dream clients of realtors and interior designers.
And we want to do that. That's what we want to do,
Yes.
right? So, a couple things I want to back up, and then I'm going to start to give my opinion on a couple things here that I think are going to help you
Okay.
tremendously. I hope. First things first, in sales, nothing is closed until there's a contract and there's a check.
Right.
Even though you have a sales call, you are not closed. You are nowhere near
Mhm.
closed, right? I've had people tell me
Right.
that before, not only on this show, but also in like the coaching group that we do and different things that we do. They're like, I closed it, I got the call. I'm like, no, we're
No.
not even, this is a step. That's basically step one, but we're not there. So closing
Yes.
the sale is huge and I'm like rooting for you and I'm excited. I'm excited when you get in front of those folks. So a couple things I want to back up on and give my opinion on. First things first, your ideal client is look, I'll go back actually before I go forward again. When I first started my event company, because I own multiple businesses now, when I first started my event
Mhm.
company, I was taking any client that would pay the bills. It's just is what it is, Laurelyn, and anyone listening, right?
Yeah.
It is what it is. You gotta pay the bills. As my business grew, and I grew it really fast, I started to realize, oh, you know what? I really like working with nonprofits. I don't like working with associations as much. I really like working with tech clients. I don't like working just with regular corporate clients. I started to evolve, and my dream client evolved for me because in the beginning,
Mhm.
a paying client was a dream client, and that's really not how it works. But it's how it
Yes.
feels though, right? And I know a lot of you who
Right.
are listening to this and Laurelyn, you're new in your business, right? A year is very new.
Yeah.
And it feels that way in the beginning. When you start to get in the trenches with those clients, you start to realize this might not be my dream client because I'm not really passionate about what they're doing. It doesn't mean you can't execute and doesn't mean that you can't do a great job, but you're not as passionate. So I think it's a really
Right.
great place. I just want to give that opinion to you. I think it's a great place that you're now identifying like I love this. I love realtors. I love interior design. I love creative. So I really my first kind of piece of advice for you might be super obvious for you, but it might be helpful to everyone listening now that you know that, I want you to run with that. I want you to focus on that. Let these other types of
Mhm.
clients that you're working with that are great, but you're not as passionate about what they're doing, let them pay your bills right now, but you need to really run towards the passion. And something I would go back on as well is that when you were talking to us about the networking, I can tell you with 100% full confidence, realtors and interior designers and kind of folks that live in that creative wheelhouse, you're 100% going to close them through networking. So if you
Oh,
are not
yes.
out,
Definitely.
yeah. So if you are not out and about 2 to 3 times a week right now, which I know sounds totally exhausting, I had to do it in the beginning when I was growing my business. But if you're not out and about going to local mixers, going to local things, especially, I mean, we know realtors, there's a high demographic of women. So going to
Mhm.
networking events, things like that, if you're not in that community, if you're not around those areas, you're missing out because that's where you're really going to build this. If that's really who your dream client is and that's really who you want to be helping, you have to be around them. And I know that sounds obvious sometimes to people, but it's such a different type of client than someone who's like a tech. client or even a legal
Right.
client or someone who is like a huge company, right? Like a Fortune 500 or even Fortune 100 or even Fortune 1000. Like it's a different they're very no nonsense down to business. They want to know what's your price? What do you bring to the table? What do you execute? Can you take this off our plate? That's that type of client. With a realtor and or interior designer, they want a relationship and they want to know that you understand the how they what kind of homes do they sell? Are they in the 250 to 750 range? Are they million dollar homes and up? Are they, are they doing, small condos? Are they sell do they just sell, one complex? And some people do that, so it depends on where you
Mhm.
are, but you really want to understand them. And that's how you'll close them. Really understand it. And what's their objective? Like, are they just way too busy? Are they not selling enough? So you're a part of their sales process or you're a part of their marketing, you would be, right? So understanding all of that
Right.
from them is super important so that one-on-one relationship with an interior designer, aesthetic is everything for them, right? So people
Mhm.
seeing the value in the aesthetic that they can bring and bring to life. So it's a very different approach than corporate. So I say all of this to also, and we'll come back to how to connect more with them in a moment, but I say all this to also talk about my opinion about Sales Navigator. So I just want to make sure everyone understands what Sales Navigator is because some people might not. If you don't live
Right.
on LinkedIn, you might not know what that is. So, Sales Navigator is a paid resource that you can use on LinkedIn to identify leads and for example, and then I'm curious how you use it too. But for example, when I've used Sales Navigator in the past, let's say I really want to get in touch with someone specific at Coca Cola, maybe somebody in the marketing
Mhm.
department, somebody there. It helps you send a message to them and engage with them. And you can't always do that unless you're connected or, there's different blocks up. And so it's helping you identify all of that, track results, all of that kind of stuff, which, in my opinion, if you're targeting a corporate audience, can be helpful and it can work. But I have a few things about this. One, I don't know if everyone listening to this knows this or has experienced this, but my LinkedIn is not the same as it used to be. LinkedIn used to be
Mhm.
very clean. It didn't used to feel like Facebook or Instagram or even TikTok where you're just loaded with messages all the time. LinkedIn, I'm on overload on my LinkedIn. I'll be honest with you. It's very rare that I respond to a message. So I'm curious about what your strategy has been and what you've been doing on there, Laurelyn, because I find it to be really saturated. Doesn't mean it can't work, but it has to be pretty strategic what you're doing. But I find it much
Mhm.
more saturated than ever. I felt that big
Right.
time, that shift in 24 and 25 really change. So curious what you've been
And
doing on there.
that comes with burnout, and so I have had to be very strategic with how I use the platform, and how I go about that is I make sure that my content resonates with what I post, and the content that I put out there resonates with realtors and interior designers. I really like the aspect of LinkedIn is an evolution. It's not the same when you first started. I've gone through a process where I've changed jobs when I was still in corporate to changing it to the entrepreneur space, and it's probably going to change again in the next year or 2. So, definitely just honing in on that foundational message, and really honing in that this is the proof that I can do, and the content to resonate with that voice that I have, that I really want to help, and on top of that, networking in those spaces, so when they do land on those multiple social media outlets like Instagram, which they probably are hanging out there alongside LinkedIn, they they see that I've studied this, I've know their pain points, and I know the solution to help fix that burnout when it comes to content creation, or get them in earned media placements on podcasts, and getting them that authority that they're hoping to get that will trans convert to sales and closed house deals for them.
Right. Couple things I'm going to challenge you to do here, and I'd love to hear back from you and hear what works and what doesn't work. One, I'm not a huge fan of Sales Navigator. I'm just gonna be
Mhm.
totally honest about that. I'm not saying stop it, go for it, but it's super expensive. It's for what it is. And if you're not seeing ROI on it, I think I would challenge you to ditch it for a month. And I would challenge you to use another tool like Get Prospect or a
Okay.
scraping service. I don't know if you've ever done this before, but what you can do, and this is for everyone listening, what you can do is you can go on link. Now, don't get me wrong. I use LinkedIn for leads, guys. Don't think I don't use LinkedIn for leads because I do. I totally do. Not for my event business per se, but when I take that back. Technically, I do use it for my event business, but we offer sponsorship opportunity. So when our clients
Mhm.
come to us and they're like, "Hey, these are our," I always make them create a dream sponsor list for us, and I'm like, and they're like, "No way, we're gonna get it," and then we will deliver. Not on everyone on the list, but give us 50, we'll deliver. We can deliver at least 50%, and they're shocked. Here's what we do, and I want you to apply these same things, Laurelyn, to what you're doing. Okay. Skip
Mhm.
the sales navigator for a little while. Cut
It's
yourself
shocking that you
some
say that because I just
yeah.
canceled it today because I didn't see the ROI.
I see, I've been doing this a little while, Laurelyn. Okay, cancel that sales navigator. You already did it. Step one is already done. Two, I want you to download Get Prospect. That happens to be my favorite one, or another scraping service. Okay,
Okay.
install that into your Chrome. I want you to go back to LinkedIn. And what it does is you and go into LinkedIn and search realtors in, in whatever market you're in, right? I'm not sure where you are,
Mhm.
Laurelyn. Where are you?
I'm in Eastern Tennessee, so it's
Perfect.
not I'm in a very rural area, but I pop around different metropolitan areas because I love
As
to
you should.
travel,
Yeah.
and so I will use that to my advantage and just
Yeah.
change the location tag on it.
Yeah. Yeah, perfect. First thing I want you to start with though is just Tennessee. Okay, so just tap into
Okay.
Tennessee and where you are in Tennessee, and then like those, like Chattanooga, those different types of places, as you kind of like bounce around. Cool. I want you to look for realtors. I want you to look for interior designers. When you go to their page and if it looks like the ideal person for you, scrape their email address. From
Mhm.
there, now not every person will come up, not all of them will work, but a lot will. And you're going to create a lead list from this. From there, I
Mhm.
want you to reach out to them via email because they are getting so many DMs on LinkedIn. People are lazy now. So when you go that extra mile and you email them, fabulous. If you go an additional mile and you go and look, this takes time. So sometimes I tell people too, I'm like, just pop that laptop open, turn on your favorite show, get your glass of wine or, sparkling water, whatever you like to have at night, and sit there and just crank this out. You know what I mean? Like it's mindless work, but it works because you're going the extra mile to connect strategically with these creatives. So you go there, you scrape their email, you do an intentional email. Something I also would challenge you on as well is don't tell them your services. Go to their website, go to their social and say, "Hey, Laurelyn, I see that you're a realtor in Chattanooga. It looks like loving your," give them a compliment, "loving your Instagram or loving your TikTok, loving the engagement. I noticed your website though hasn't been updated since 2022." Something like that. You want to give them some point or, "Hey, loving your TikTok, but notice you haven't posted on Instagram since 2023. Is that something you would want help with to build more credibility?" Don't make it about you. Make it about them
Made
and how
about
you can
them.
help them. I will tell you it works every time. It doesn't necessarily mean you'll sign them as a client because you don't know their budget, but they will write you back because you've taken that extra step to get their email, look at what they're doing, and solve a problem for them. You will win every time. You do 5 of those a day, every single day, you've got over 100 in a month that you're doing that on. You will win.
Mhm.
It's about personal because the people that you're targeting are very personal. And the strategy that you were using before with Sales Navigator is very corporate and impersonal. And they want to know budget, numbers, what can you give us? That's it. There's no creative behind this. This is about you're going to build a relationship with them. They're going to be impressed that you've done the research with them. And you're going to start the conversation. And if you're starting conversations, if you're doing 5 people a day, that's 25 a week. Imagine how fast that's going to add up. Imagine how fast that lead list is going to add up for you.
Now, let me ask you this
Of course.
because if you're not careful with the domain, because I do have SEO experience, if you're not careful with that at your business name when you're sending out these emails, you were gonna get flagged by Google for spam. So how do you protect that while you're warming this up to 5 to 10 emails a day to almost 20 a day?
So
Emails when
you're
you're s
not mass emailing, so you're not gonna
Mhm.
get flagged. You're sending a
Okay.
personal email to someone, and you scraped using an actual, like, certified scraper that is legal.
Mhm.
It is 100% legal. You can go out and listen to tons of podcasts about this. If somebody blocks their email address and you can't find it scraping, you then that's fine. You just move on to the next lead. Or if you see this realtor and you really love them and you go to their website. Look, realtors are easy. They're easy to find. Their phone numbers
Right.
and their email addresses are out there. You're not gonna get flagged for that. You're gonna get flagged
Mhm.
if you're not the reason people get flagged, Laurelyn, as you probably know, is because people are just doing mass emails. You have to spend the time to personalize this. And I know it's time and time is money.
Mhm.
But once you start doing this, you're going to snowball and people are going to start knowing who you are because you're going to start signing these people and they're going to start working with you. So the hardest part about starting a new business is having the credibility, like you mentioned kind of in the
Right.
beginning, right? You know you're good. You know you're good at what you do. That's why testimonials are really fabulous too. But at the end of the day, there's so much fake stuff out there and fake news out there, as we know, right? As everyone is fake, it's fake, all this stuff. It's you have to hit it from a couple sides. So
Right.
I'm not telling you to mass email. And the
Mhm.
reason I'm saying start with 5 a day is because it's not intimidating. When you don't come from a sales background per se, like
Mm.
me, I have a sales background. So like there were times when I was selling in corporate where it was like we were churning and burning like 50 to 100 leads a day. This is totally
Mhm.
different. You're creating a personalized message. That's going to take some time. But
Right.
in full confidence in you, you could take 2 hours a day, an hour and a half a day, and send 5 personalized strategic and I want you to save the template, right? I want it to feel the same, but you're gonna personalize it because each person is gonna be facing a different challenge, right? Like someone maybe hasn't updated this in a while, maybe someone hasn't done this, maybe someone's never been on a podcast. So you're like, I have the perfect podcast for you. And that's another thing I'm sure you have in your arsenal, but have strategic, great podcasts ready to go that you know would partner with this type of person. I would respond to that email immediately because realtors love to talk. And so you have that, right? So maybe they've
Yes.
got a great website, maybe they have a great Instagram, but you're like, God, Laura Lynn would be great on a podcast episode. So then you personalize it that way. You're not going to get flagged
Mhm.
for sending 5 emails that are personalized a day to individuals.
Okay.
It's not going to happen. Yeah,
Okay.
it's not going to happen.
Yeah, and personalized, I've noticed in the world of marketing and entrepreneurship, it is definitely key to stand out in the crowd because it's gotten so crowded since COVID-19. It's changed from what I was growing up with to now. And
Absolutely.
so that really helps and hones down, and it's probably it's very much a business owner friendly start. It's not gonna, break the bank at the end of the day, and I'm actually probably gonna exceed my ROA from what I was seeing from Sales Navigator.
You are going to crush it. You are going to crush it. But the reason people don't do it is because they're looking for, and I'm not saying you per se, but just if you're out there, look, guys, I'm not trying to hate on you for this, but sometimes we're looking for the easy way. And
Mm,
and in the beginning, there's a reason why entrepreneurship is not for everybody. Everybody can do it. I always say this everybody can do entrepreneurship, but entrepreneurship is not for everybody. Why? Because it's hard work. If it was easy, everybody would be successful. You have to have the grit and you have to have the ability to maneuver and change. So I really love that before you came on this episode, you canceled it. It's so aligned with what we're chatting about today. But with who you're targeting, interior design realtors, that special touch. Like imagine if you go and you're on LinkedIn and you're scraping and you see this realtor, you see me, Maya, I'm a realtor, or you see me as an interior designer. Let's do interior design to kind of round this out. Say you see me, I'm an interior designer. Like you're like, oh, she's been doing this a really long time. You go and you look at my Instagram. I haven't posted anything since, 2024. Then you go and you check out my link. I've never been on a podcast. Those are talking points for you, right? I mean, there's
mhm.
other things,
Right.
or maybe I have been posting, but my engagement is really low. Nobody's following me. Nobody knows me. That's something like you.
Yes.
Hey Maya, your Instagram is beautiful. Oh my gosh, I love your design. Call out something specific. But I noticed you've only got 100 followers or a couple, couple engagement. We need to get you in front of more people. Would you be interested in chatting with me about how I can help you with that? Make it about them. And that when I read emails like that, which are so few and far between because I get so much spam, I get about 25 to 50 on average emails a day just spamming me because they scrape. So being strategic. The other thing I would tell you too is in the title of your email, make it about them. Don't put your information in there. They don't know your company yet. That's okay. Make it
Mhm.
something about them. Put their company name in there. Put something spicy in there. Use ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever you use to help curate that stuff, but then personalize it, right? We're not copying and pasting, we're actually personalizing. But if you need help coming up with a title, this is what these tools are here for, right? They are a great thing to have. So use them to help. So your brain power is really going into helping your client. That's where I would
Right.
hone into. I know you're in a kind of probably a small town or a small area, but I still would not sleep on networking. Find out where your realtors are going, find out where your interior designers are going. I mean, like Galentine's Day is coming up, like they go to stuff like that. I mean, I'm literally going to a Galentine's Day events. What is it? Tomorrow, Galentine's Day? Yeah. And it's
It's tomorrow.
I think it's like 10, 15 realtors going to that just because my realtor has invited me, right? So things
Mhm.
like that you can tap into because one thing I love about realtors and interior designers from my experience are this way too. When they like you, they want other people to use you too. They're like, "We're competing with each other. However, you can have her. You can have Laurelyn. She's really great, but I'm still going to sell more than you." Right? There's that friendly competition. So, those are the 2 things I think you're gonna find success with. I mean, there's other things as well, but we only have so much time on this show. But
Yes.
if I were you, that would be my first 2 things I tap into. And I understand that networking can burn out because for me in the beginning, it was a lot to go to these events. But really put yourself out there and then you'll start to go, "You know what? This event was really, this happy hour once a month is really strategic. I meet great people there. I'm gonna keep going to that." But I don't need to keep going to the breakfast I go to every Wednesday. It's not really netting a lot for me. So you can then scale back. So get yourself out there locally, but also start using these strategic tactics and take that extra step by going to their socials and going to their websites because you're not gonna get pinged for that because realtors
Mhm.
and interior designers are having to promote themselves. All their information is out there. It's just for you to go and get it.
Right. And I like how you said that because it's definitely people buy from people and having that connection, which is
They do.
what I'm all about, is creating that trust and creating that connection and that that relationship because I'm all about relationships. It really hones in on the networking, but also I have a backup plan B to help accelerate that when I'm not at those networking events.
100%. And you have an achievable goal. That's what I'm going to give you. That's
Mhm.
your homework. That's your takeaway, Laurelyn. 5 a day. 5 a day, right? That's 25 a
Yes.
week. And then as that goes, you're building your list so quickly, right? And that, yeah.
Right.
So that's your homework. I hope that was helpful for you and you can take this away. And then I hope you'll update us and let us know what worked and what didn't.
Yes, maybe I can come on for a part 2 as an update. I
Yeah,
would love to do that. So,
that'd be awesome.
thank you so much for your help and your advice. I took notes, so I definitely am gonna take the ground running with this.
Awesome. Thanks, Laura Lynn. And thank you guys so much for listening to the My Opinion podcast. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, wherever we are at My Opinion Podcast and at Maya Roffler. And we also have our free Facebook group and our new networking group linked in the show notes below. We'll see you back on our next episode.